because it's a ton of work. And so we were looking at that and thinking, well, we'll just do the ones that seem interesting. But what we found along the way was, if we didn't have a graphical change, the skill rune just felt kind of weak or even broken. And we found that everybody at the office would just gravitate towards using all of the skill runes that have graphics changes. So what we found is that this really kind of comes down to a fundamental question, which is, we could just change all of the numbers underneath, and give you like a numerical change. And we could do that, or we could just have the screen filled with like zombie bears, right? And which would you rather have, right? Zombie bears. Okay, of course. All right. So, where are we at with skill runes? We still have 5 types of skill runes, only we've changed their names. They're now called Crimson, Indigo, Obsidian, Golden, and Alabaster. So why did we change this? Well, we had another system before where we named the runes according to the concept that was attached to them. So they were called things like multi-strike or energy. And multi-strike runes did multi-strike things, and energy runes did stuff with your resources. But we decided to change that because what we found as we were going along was that we kept coming up with ideas that just didn't fit with those concepts very well. So at first, we had some concept that would fit really well, like we'd get some things that do like a multi-shot and they would fit. But then as we started coming up with really, really wacky ideas, it just became harder and harder to shoehorn them into that system. So I want to give you an example I'm talking about. On screen right now is the Witch Doctor's new skill called Poison Dart. And let's see, what do we got? Obsidian rune. So that will slow monsters. And that kind of fit with the power rune before. So it wasn't too big a deal. But then we changed the skill so that we had another version that would make it a rapid fire skill. And that worked really good with multi-strike. But then we had this other wacky idea. We wanted the Witch Doctor to be able to shoot a live snake that would attach itself to monsters' faces and stun them. Where does that fit? It doesn't fit anywhere, right? So the answer was, okay, let's just change the names of the runes. And we can come up with as many wacky ideas like that as we want, and we just put them wherever we want, and it works. So next, runes now have ranks. There are 7 ranks. They increase as you progress through the game. Now, what do ranks do for runes? Here's what they do. They take whatever the rune does to a particular skill, and they just take that attribute and they make it extreme. Okay? So the easiest way to really get an understanding of how this works is to look at a skill and just see how the rune ranks change that skill. So we're going to look at Wizard's Magic Missile. You've seen this before probably. Here it is, unruned. It shoots 1 missile per cast. But then we're going to put an Indigo rune in it, rank 1. And now it shoots 2 missiles per cast. Now here's rank 7. You're going to need that in hell. So that brings us up to speed with what we've done with runes. And so I thought it would be a really good idea to just give you some examples of what kinds of things runes can do to skills by looking at some of the ones that we've designed. So here we have a skill for the barbarian called Weapon Throw. It allows him just to throw a big weapon. This is the Crimson rune. It just adds more damage, makes it kind of a one-shot skill. And then we have another one that allows you to throw a hammer that stuns characters, which is great for PvP. Then we have another one that, will cause confusion, which is a good crowd control version. And then we have one that ricochets for AoE. And then finally, we thought it'd be really cool to have an ability for the barbarian to throw a corpse. Because corpses are cool. So next up we have the wizard. And we brought back Hydra for the wizard. And here it is. It works just like the skill from D2. And then the Crimson rune changes them to Frost Hydras with a short-range breath attack. Then we also brought in a lightning hydra. Lightning hydras never miss. Next up, we have an arcane hydra that shoots miniature arcane orbs for AoE damage. Then we decided to do an acid hydra because melting monsters is just a lot of fun. And then finally, we wanted to change things up again, get one of these really wacky ideas. One big hydra head, but it has the firewall attribute. Yeah. Okay. So next up, let's look at Plague of Toads on the Witch Doctor. This is the Crimson Rune. It makes all of your frogs on fire. This fire is good. And then something a little bit more gameplay oriented. You've got mana reduction, so you can have a lot more frogs. And then we have Alabaster Rune will blind monsters, which gives you some crowd controllability. And then we change the skill completely and make sort of a toad blizzard. Then finally, we wanted to have a giant toad. But what's he going to do? He's going to eat monsters. And he digests them, but he doesn't digest the loot, because that would not be so much fun.
All right, so unfortunately we are running a little bit late, so we're probably not going to have time for a Q&A session. After this, I'm going to cover arenas fairly quickly. I want to let you all know that tomorrow we have a full hour of open Q&A for Diablo 3. We also have another panel where we cover a lot of new content as well, including design, art, and programming content. We show new areas from part of the game that has never been seen before, and a lot of more stuff on characters, specifically armor and armor systems. So, battle arenas. This is basically our first approach to PvP, and hopefully not our last. So the vision for battle arenas is a dedicated place for all your dueling needs. Dueling was a massive part of Diablo 2, and a lot of people really love to duel. Do we have any people here who like dueling? Anyone? Yeah, I know. You guys like to kill each other. You should just try to get along. We know you like to kill each other, and Diablo 2 really didn't support it very well. So we were really focused from the very beginning with Diablo 3 to make sure that we corrected that mistake. So, an overview of the battle arenas. It's focused on team-based play, and the reason for this is, as Julian mentioned, we have like 97 billion builds. So the idea that every build is perfectly balanced versus every other build is not going to happen. We definitely want to get all the class balance a lot better than it was in Diablo 2, but the idea is that some of the builds are supposed to be better than others. That's the point. You're supposed to try and find the best PvP build. So focusing on more team-based play softens that issue a little bit, that issue of balance. So maybe if you go into the arena and you face a build you're weak to, your teammates can actually help you make up for that. It becomes more than just about your own build, but your team's build. So a lot of the arenas is really about building the perfect PvP character. So you will be taking characters that you get in PvE, items, skills, traits, everything you do, and taking it over into the battle arena. It is definitely a game about building a PvE character into a PvP monster. So there's lots of cool abilities. Here's the Witch Doctor and Wizard to show off a bunch. We got some zombie bears in there. That's a crowd favorite. Blizzard, which is a great crowd control and attack spell. Teleport, which the Wizard uses in just a second. Meteor. There's a lot of awesome skills, and a lot of them work great across both PvE and PvP. And some of them are designed specifically for PvP. If you go, and if you've ever looked at any of the skills that we've shown in the previous BlizzCon and gone, I don't know how I'd use that in PvE. It actually might be a PvP skill because several of them we specifically focus for there. So the PvE game has a lot of control in it. There's lots of freezing enemies and stomping on the ground and stunning everything. So, but we didn't want the PvP game to be all about crowd control, where you would basically be sitting around waiting for the opportunity to move. So a big part of our PvP design is all about counters. Counters that break you out of any kind of crowd control. So here we have the witch doctors using Horrify to fear the barbarian, and the barbarian is using Ignore Pain to break out of that. And there's also just tons of cool tricks. For example, we can teleport, freeze, meteor, bye-bye. So the arenas is fully playable on the floor, so I encourage you all to go over and, reach out and beat the crap out of your friend. So we set up a round mechanic, and essentially the goal of this is when we played the game, one round was never enough. We would see what our other team was, but we wouldn't have a chance to react to that. So the game is played as a best 2 out of 3 or 3 out of 5. We haven't figured out exactly what the great round count is, but we're going to be working on that, and we'd appreciate feedback on that. So we're going to do a lot of focus on BattleNet with the arenas and PvP. We will have matchmaking, so you'll be able to form a team or just randomly jump in. It will be skill-based, so we'll try and look and match teams equally against one another. We are trying to figure out a way to do custom games. We know that while our arenas are team-based, there's a lot of you that are going to want to do a specific team versus your friend's specific team, and maybe outside of the ranking systems. And you're going to want to do one-on-ones, even though the game's not going to be super great balance for that. We know you're going to want to do it, so we're definitely focused on finding a way to make that really easy for you to do. And the last one is more of a progression-based ranking system. So if you've played StarCraft 2, you know it's very much what we call a skill-based ranking system, where when you play against one another, you each get a rank, and if your rank's higher, you get to make fun of your friend. So we want you to be able to make fun of your friends, but here it's more about doing it in the arenas. So if you play in the arenas, if you win, you're going to get points, and those points are going to progress your rank. They're going to give you titles, vanity rewards, achievements, lots of basically things that are not focused on power, but focused on showing how dedicated you are to PvP. As you continue to play through, even if you lose, you'll also get points in progression. So, as I said, I don't think we have time for Q&A, maybe, but if not, then I really appreciate everybody coming, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the show.
For attending the Diablo 3.
BlizzCon 2010 just keeps on rolling here live on DirecTV. The fans are here, the costumes are here as they get ready for the costume contest tonight. And of course, there's lots of gameplay for Diablo.